So I have the day off today, and we're out here doing some chicken chores in the morning. It's just me and Emma. She's back there hanging out with the chickens at the feeder. And I figured I'd just give you a look at how we're raising our pastured birds this year. Because like I said in an earlier video, we've been doing it a little bit differently, or we were planning on doing it differently this year. And it's kind of been a neat setup so far. If the video doesn't look like the quality that you're used to, it's for no reason other than I just kind of impromptu grabbed my phone. This isn't really I wasn't really planning to do this video. I just kind of, I'm out here now with Emma and figure, why don't we talk a little bit about it? So we're actually down here in a part of the front yard that we don't really use for too much. We've got a peach tree over here and another one behind the chicken tractor over there that you can kind of see. And then we've got some blueberry bushes that are planted down over here. But other than that, there's not really much going on down here. It's just grass. The plan here is to eventually plant some fruit trees though, and beyond what we have with the two peach trees right there. We'd kind of like to plant an apple tree almost right where I'm standing. You can see we've got a little flower garden right there. So we'd like to put kind of an apple tree either right over here or on this side of the flower garden, and then maybe another one a little bit closer to where Emma's standing over there, kind of on the slope, and provide a little bit of fruit that we can grow on the homestead besides the berries and the peaches that we're already growing, which the peaches haven't really done anything yet. They're still super small. So with that in mind, we decided to run the meat chickens down here to kind of super fortify this area with nitrogen ahead of planting next spring or fall. We're not sure if we're going to plant in the spring or fall of next year. We do have a couple apple trees that we bought. You can see Jackie's got them right up there on the front porch. She's actually got them tied to the railing so they don't blow over. So we've got a couple apple trees, and they may go in here or they may go in behind the house where the pigs are running in the back there. We might plant them this fall because I don't want to keep those apple trees in pots until next spring. That would be a really long time to do it. But we decided to run the birds down here to fortify this ground with nitrogen, and we're doing it a little bit differently than in the past, which has been with this Lumna Acres chicken tractor here that's propped up on the barrel as just an extra shelter. We knew we wanted to build a Susquehanna tractor. We've seen them before. They're a really awesome way to run your birds. They're solid, they're stable, they last a long, long time. So we knew we wanted to build one of those, but I didn't want to run the birds in that because we're doing 60 of them. As you can see, there's a lot out here. There's actually 55 right now. We had some losses early on. So we built the Susquehanna tractor, and these are designed to hold 25 to 30 birds. John says 25. Based on the square footage in there, you could do 30 birds in this thing, but you've got to move it every day. And while that's not an issue, if we wanted to do 60 meat birds, we would have had to build two of these things, and they're not cheap at $300 a pop. So not that I'm saying they're not worth $300, but we didn't want to throw that investment right into it off the bat. So we ended up just building one, and then we bought the poultry netting that you see around right now from Premier One. I've got a video that we just put out where I talk about some of the problems that we ran into when building the Susquehanna tractor and some of the changes that I made to the design while I was doing it to suit it a little bit better for us and make me feel a little bit more confident in it. I'll put a link to that video up here in the corner. And you might be saying, Jack, you invested in Premier One poultry netting though, which is not cheap. And that's true. The poultry netting is, I think it was around $200, and it was even hard to find in the whole COVID situation time that we're in right now. So we had a hard time finding it, but we bought it and we invested in that versus building another chicken tractor. And the reason why is because this poultry netting extends just beyond meat birds. For the spring, we're planning on moving our chickens, the egg layers, out into the area where we're doing the pigs right now. And we have the yellow Premier One poultry netting already, but we wanted to give them a bigger area than what they've got in the backyard now. We really want to let them work the land. So having this poultry netting that you see around me right here, it works for meat birds, but it's also going to work for putting our egg layers out back and giving them an added layer of security out there. So the idea was get them out on pasture, a true pasture, where they're really just in the chicken tractor at night. And then during the day, they're out here, they're roaming, they're foraging, they're eating grass, they're eating bugs. I've been watching these things mouth through crickets. I don't know what it is. We have a ton of crickets this year. We had a ton of chipmunks. Last year, we had a ton of acorns. It's just been a bountiful 2020 so far, it seems, in terms of crickets and chipmunks. I don't know. But to promote them to graze and actually move around, we are moving the feed day to day. So right there, it's up in the corner. Tomorrow, it may be over there. Tomorrow, it may be down there. And same thing, the water is right down there behind me, but we're going to be moving that around as well. And a lot of people will say, oh, you can't raise Cornish crosses in a true pasture environment because they're just going to sit by the feeder and gorge themselves. Emma, out of the feeder, please. Come here. You say hi to YouTube. Can you say hi? Wave. So a lot of people think you can't raise Cornish crosses on pasture because they're just going to sit by the feeders and gorge themselves. And they may, but if you move the water away from their feeder, it's going to promote them to move. And as you can see, I filled that feeder maybe 10 minutes ago, and a lot of them are ignoring it at this point. They're still just out and grazing and eating whatever they can find on the ground, which is super cool. The other thing we're doing with them that I feel is helping to keep them going and keep them grazing is we're limiting their feed. And that can take a bunch of different directions depending on how you want to do it. Some people will pull their feed every 12 hours. So they have they'll get feed from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And then from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. they don't have feed. That's one way you can do it. The way we're doing it is I'm essentially only giving them enough feed in the mornings to get them by and put some weight on them. And then for the rest of the day, their feeder is essentially empty and they don't have the ability to just sit by this thing for 12 hours straight, gorge themselves, and then just sit on an empty stomach. And it may result in slightly smaller birds. We haven't quite figured that out yet, like how it's going to look and what their finished weights are going to be. This is new for us. We haven't done this before. But if it results in slightly smaller birds that are of a higher quality, I'm totally okay with it. Jackie's okay with it. We have a few customers that are friends and family, and they've already expressed that they like the quality of our meat and not necessarily the fact that we're raising huge honking chickens. So that just works for us. This is a first-time experiment for us, and I'm not quite sure how it's going to go. I would love to say that this is going to be the end-all, be-all, best way to raise pastured chickens, but I'm just not sure yet. If you have raised chickens like this, let us know, and let us know any tips or tricks that you may have. You know, if you found a way to get bigger birds, if you found you ended up with smaller birds no matter what you did. Leave a comment down below if you've done this, and let us know any words of wisdom you might have. So here's the spot where we're talking about running the chickens next year. Definitely the egg layers, possibly even meat birds back here at some point. The pigs have been doing an awesome job at taking down the bulk of the vegetation, but the chickens will really kind of come through and ensure that we can reclaim this. What I'll actually do here is once we process these pigs in November, I'll come through and I'll plant a cover crop. I would say it won't germinate this fall. There's always the possibility that it may, which we can deal with when we get to it, but it would definitely germinate in the spring. Put down a cover crop, whether it's oats or some sort of other clover, possibly something that's going to tolerate slightly acidic soil, because while this is going to be super fertilized, it's not going to be the least acidic soil. I may have to put down some lime as well at the time, but we'll put down that cover crop and then we'll turn the chickens out into it, and they'll destroy that cover crop, but it'll give them some forage as well. So that's it. We're kind of doing a modified Justin Rhodes rotational concept, if you will. You know, we're not necessarily doing it in the way that we have beef cows and then we run pigs and then we run chickens. And to be honest, I don't even know if that's the order he does it in, just because his method didn't really apply to us and we're not doing cattle like he is. But we are doing something similar in that we're running the pigs on an area and then we're bringing in the chickens behind them and essentially working that land into a better pasture over a longer period of time. And then the end goal here is to slowly move the area where we do the pigs back year after year after year and kind of clear out more space. Not necessarily clear cut it, because nobody wants to just cut all sorts of trees back there, and we don't want to have a completely logged flat piece of property, but it's going to give us the ability to use that land for different stuff besides just having forested property. If you have any questions or any ideas on how we can do this more effectively, or any problems that we might run into, definitely leave them down below in the comments. We'd love to hear them. As always, thanks for watching the video, guys, and have a great day.